All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We would like to welcome everybody today to our virtual Sunday program. I'm sure everybody is now aware that the temple has cancelled the upcoming programs. We canceled the Christmas program yesterday and the Sunday program today. This is due to the fact of the rise in cases, the COVID cases in Georgia. And some devotees who are on the front line have recommended that we close the temple for a while just to be safe and to avoid any risks and to keep the community and the devotees in good health. So we have moved back to virtual programs, Sunday virtual programs. And we would like to thank everyone who has joined us so far for being here with us. Today, we will have Her Grace Gita Mathaji, who will be enlightening us on some beautiful subjects. Gita Mataji was recently in India for Kartik and just got back, I believe, a few days ago. So we would like to welcome Gita Mataji back to Atlanta and back to this virtual platform where she has spoken on various occasions. Gita Mataji is a very senior member of our community, disciple of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj. And Mataji joined ISKCON in 1985 and is involved in various preaching activities in and around Atlanta, different home programs, book distribution, Sankirtan, so many different activities Mataji engages in. And she has also held a position on the board, the managerial board of ISKCON Atlanta. Mataji's talks and narrations and lectures are very sweet and very easy to understand and very digestible, and it is very pleasing and ever so wonderful to hear from her. So without any further ado, I will hand it over to Her Grace Gita Mataji. If you're ready, you may go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, thank you so much. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Jai Gaura Hari Bol Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhams Parivrajapacharya Stotra Shat Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jai Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyamakun Radhakun गिरी गोवर्धन की जय वृंदावन धाम की जय मायापुर धाम की जय जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय गंगा माई की जय यमुना माई की जय तुलसी देवी की जय संवेद भक्तविंद की जय निताय गौ प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. Glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jadvaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we'll be covering chapter number 7 of the Bhagavad Gita as it is by Srila Prabhupada, Knowledge of the Absolute. And I'll just read the first verse. Shri Bhagavano Vacha Maya Sakta Manaha Partha Yogam Yunjanmad Ashrayaha Asamshayam Samagram Mam Yatha Gnasya Sita Shruno. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Now hear, O son of Pritha, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt." Purport. In the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the nature of Krishna consciousness is fully described. Krishna is full in all opulences, and how he manifests such opulences is described herein. Also, 4 kinds of fortunate people who become attached to Krishna and 4 kinds of unfortunate people who never take to Krishna are described in this chapter. In the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, the living entity has been described as non-material spirit soul capable of elevating himself to self-realization by different types of yogas. At the end of the 6th chapter, it has been clearly stated that the steady concentration of the mind upon Krishna, or in other words, Krishna consciousness, is the highest form of all yoga. By concentrating one's mind upon Krishna, one is able to know the absolute truth completely, but not otherwise. Impersonal Brahmajyoti or localized Paramatma realization is not perfect knowledge of the absolute truth because it is partial. Full and scientific knowledge is Krishna, and everything is revealed to the person in Krishna consciousness. In complete Krishna consciousness, one knows that Krishna is ultimate knowledge beyond any doubts. Different types of yoga are only stepping stones on the path of Krishna consciousness. One who takes directly to Krishna consciousness automatically knows about Brahmajyotir and Paramatma in full. By practice of Krishna consciousness yoga, one can know everything in full, namely the absolute truth, the living entities, the material nature, and their manifestations with paraphernalia. One should therefore begin yoga practice as directed in the last verse of the 6th chapter. Concentration of the mind upon Krishna, the Supreme, is made possible by prescribed devotional service in 9 different forms, of which Shravanam is the first and most important. The Lord therefore says to Arjuna, "Touch Shrinu," or hear from me. No one can be a greater authority than Krishna, and therefore, by hearing from him, one receives the greatest opportunity to become a perfectly Krishna conscious person. One has therefore to learn from Krishna directly or from a pure devotee of Krishna, and not from a non-devotee upstart, puffed up with academic education. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, this process of understanding Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, is described in the 2nd chapter of the 1st canto as follows. To hear about Krishna from Vedic literatures or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita is itself righteous activity. And for one who hears about Krishna, Lord Krishna, who is dwelling in everyone's heart, acts as a best wishing friend and purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him. In this way, a devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge. As he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam and from the devotees, he becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. By development of devotional service, one becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance, and thus material lust and avarice are diminished. When these impurities are wiped away, the candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness, becomes enlivened by devotional service, and understands the science of God perfectly. Thus, Bhakti Yoga severs the hard knot of material affection and enables one to come at once to the stage of asamshayam samagram, understanding of the supreme absolute truth, personality of Godhead. Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from his devotee in Krishna consciousness can one understand the science of Krishna. Om Ajnana-Timirandasya Jnananjana-Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hari Bol. So here we see this chapter, of course, entitled Knowledge of the Absolute, which means we get knowledge about Krishna. And in this whole chapter, Krishna is giving us the understanding that by practicing Bhakti Yoga in full consciousness of Krishna, in which the mind is attached to Krishna, then Krishna says, you will know me in full, free from doubt. Doubts are like demons. Prabhupada says they are like demons in the heart that need to be removed, just like Krishna helped Arjuna remove all those doubts. That is why he even addressed Krishna as Madhusudana, that just like you killed the demon Madhu, you please kill all the doubts from my heart. Now, the most important part of this verse that I recited today, the very first verse of chapter 7, Krishna says, Tat Shrinu, try to hear. Hearing is very, very important. If we somehow or the other can, with an open mind, hear the Bhagavad Gita, hear what Krishna is saying, where he's, especially in this chapter, he's describing how to become fully Krishna conscious. And he's also talking about his opulences so that we can get more attached to him. In fact, in verse 3 of this chapter, Krishna says, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye. Yatatam api siddham kaschit mam veti tattva. He says, out of thousands, hardly one will try for perfection. And out of thousands who have already attained perfection, Krishna says, hardly one knows me in truth. Why is that so? We can see that in Kali Yuga, very few people are interested in Krishna consciousness. Very few people want to know who they really are, who is the Supreme Lord. They are mostly interested in eating, sleeping, and having fun, or mating and defending, or whatever we may call it, just materialistic activities. But bhakti, that Srila Prabhupada has given us, he's given us a process to become bhaktas, to perform bhakti. That is a very rare opportunity. Actually, it's a golden opportunity. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. So many living entities, so many souls are wandering for millions of years, but only those who have the mercy of Guru and Krishna, they get the seed of devotion. And when they get the seed of devotion, what do they need to do? We learned in chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita, verse 34, where Krishna says, Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadyakshanti te jnanam jnanina tattva darshina. Need to approach a tattva darshina, someone who has seen the truth, the bona fide spiritual master in parampara. Then we can learn from them about Krishna. And it is only possible when we inquire submissively and we render devotional service. This is how. Then continuing within this chapter, Lord Krishna is explaining to Arjuna about his different material energies. And he says superior to these material energies are the living entities. And guess what? He says these living entities, they are exploiting the resources. Krishna knows us so well. He's saying these living entities, they are exploiting. You know, in nowadays term, you can say, you scratch my back, I scratch your back, you know, just exploiting each other. Or, you know, when someone wants to make friends, they think, what's in it for me? What am I going to get out of this person? Then I'm going to think whether I want to be friends with this person or not. What is that? Nothing but trying to control everyone, whether it's in the house, in the office, in the social circle, even sometimes in devotee circle, trying to control. But we are not the controllers. We need to understand Krishna is the only controller. In fact, in verse number 6 of this chapter, Krishna says, I am the source, I am the origin, and I am the dissolution. This entire creation takes place because I'm situated as a super soul in the heart. He's the cause. In fact, in Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma, his very first verse, he says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigra Anadir Adir Govind Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the cause of all causes. And Krishna explains this with a very nice analogy. He says, Mataha Parataram Nanyat Kinchit Asti Dhananjaya. He says, no truth is superior to me and everything rests in me like pearls are strung on thread. See, we may get a bunch of pearls, you know, like my husband brings a bunch of pearls and he gives it to me and says, wear it. How can I wear a bunch of pearls? I cannot. Need to have the thread go through those pearls. So the necklace, the pearls, they are dependent on the thread to become a necklace. So Krishna says, everything rests in me just like the pearls are strung on thread. And in this chapter, we've also heard Krishna's glories. You know, what are his glories? He says, I'm the taste of water. I'm the light of the sun and moon. I'm the ability in man. And we are so proud of our abilities. We think, I did it. It is all because of me. No, Krishna says, I am the ability in man. I am the heat and fire. In fact, he is the fire of digestion, which means without the help of Krishna, we cannot even digest our prasadam. So this is how we can understand how Krishna is all pervasive. He's everywhere. Everything is in me. Everything comes from him. In 10th chapter, Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mataha sarvam pravartate. Everything comes from Krishna. He is all pervasive by his energies. So we can see, of course, Krishna is giving just a tiny glimpse of his opulences. It's not possible to, describe all his glories in 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita. No, we may continue to glorify Krishna and still till for time immemorial, but we will still not be able to finish it. Right? He says, I am the Bijam Mam Sarva Bhutanam, which means I am the original seed of all existence. 8.4 million species of life. And what happens when we get this human form of life? Most of us are deluded by 3 modes of material nature. And Krishna says, that's why people do not know me. I know them. I'm above all the 3 modes, but no one knows me. Devi hi esha gunamai mama maya duratyaya. Very difficult to overcome the divine energy of Krishna. But then there's a solution. He says, but those who surrender unto me, they can easily cross over. So the big word is surrender. Generally people, they get afraid of that word surrender. Oh, if surrender means then I won't be in control of my own life, that means someone else is going to control me, I'll become a puppet. What does surrender mean? Surrender means following the instructions of Guru and Krishna. That is how we can receive their mercy. And until and unless we receive their mercy, we cannot get liberated from the cycle of birth and death. We've already heard that All living entities are parts of Krishna. Mamai Vamsha Jivaloke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Mamai Amsha. Amsha means part. So Krishna says, you all are my parts. You belong to me. You're divine. But even though we are spiritual, because we are in the material world, we have become contaminated. And the only way to remove contamination is to follow the simple process given to us by Srila Prabhupada. And it starts with Tat Shruno, hearing, and chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. You know what caught my attention in this chapter 7 of Bhagavad Gita when I first read it was 2 verses. And these were the 2 verses that I first learned because they are so interesting. One of them is the negative one. No mam dushkritino mudha prapadyante naradhama mayaya apratagyanam asuram bhavam ashritaha. Krishna says there are 4 kinds of miscreants. Dushkritina means miscreants who do not surrender unto me. Who? One who is grossly foolish, one who is lowest among mankind, one whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and one who is demoniac in nature. So then I thought, oh, that means Krishna wants us to think, do we fall in any of these categories? Hopefully not. But then good news comes in the next verse. He says, 4 kinds of pious people who surrender unto me. And what is that? Excuse me. Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukritino. Arjuna. Sukritino means pious people. One who is in distress, one who wants money, one who wants knowledge, and one who is inquisitive. So then it's time to think, in which category do I fall? So 4 kinds of people, dushkritina, miscreants, who do not surrender to Krishna. And Prabhupada in his purport very nicely explains who are mudhas, grossly foolish. They are hard-working beasts of burden, like an ass. He makes it very clear that we over-endeavor, we work and we work and we work more, so many hours, so that we can get more money. But we have understood from chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, Karma Yoga, we get only what we have earned based on our past activities. So too much passion, running after money, to enjoy the fruits, to enjoy with no goal in life, no austerities, nothing at all, running after temporary happiness, running. And what happens at the time of death? Everything is finished. We cannot go take anything with us in the next life. Our American Express card, it may have $100,000 limit, whatever it may be, we cannot take with us in our next life. Everything is finished at the time of death. I know someone who worked very hard all life, 16 to 18 hours every day to earn a lot of money, but there was no time to spend that money or to enjoy. I'm not saying that, okay, purpose of earning money is just to enjoy, but the idea is that there was no time to sit down and relax because the whole life went in working, and one day, boom, dead. Who is enjoying that money now? The family. Family is also not enjoying. Family is continuing to work more and more so that more money can come. Again, the same cycle. What is the point? The whole purpose of human life is not to make money and enjoy. Krishna says the purpose of human life is to become self-realized. So that we can understand, I am not this body, I am a spirit soul, and not waste time in just working like an ass. And Krishna says, grossly foolish are such people who do not surrender. And Naradhama means lowest among mankind. What does that mean? Prabhupada says Nara means human, Adhama means lowest. If we misuse the human form of life, that means we are considered Naradhama, lowest among mankind. Because human life, we have philosophical intelligence, so we can understand, okay, I am suffering. There are 7 kinds of miseries. I can see, I'm growing old, I'm getting diseased. Death will be for sure as death. So an intelligent person will start trying to find some ways to break the cycle of birth and death. And that will happen only when there is submissive hearing, there is chanting, there is, reading, there is doing some seva, association of devotees, eating only prasadam, of this whole wonderful process given to us by Srila Prabhupada. Mayaya aprita jnanam, someone whose knowledge is stolen by illusion. Prabhupada says maybe very scholarly, but if is misguided and disobeys the orders of the spiritual master or of Krishna, or is too puffed up because has got some material degrees, then that person is definitely in Maya, and intelligence is stolen by Maya. Asuram bhavam. Prabhupada explains that these are the ones who do not follow any principles. They are basically atheistic. As per them, the Lord doesn't have a form. He does not descend. So they do not surrender. But Krishna says, I can be known by 4 kinds of people who surrender unto me. 4 classes. Chaturvidha bhajante mam. Pious, why? Because at least they are approaching Krishna. It may be for money. It may be because they are in misery or distressed or just inquisitive or want to take more knowledge. But Krishna is so kind. He shows them the way to approach some pure devotees and start their bhakti. But out of these 4, 3 of them, they actually want something in exchange for devotion. They're doing some business with Krishna. But Krishna says, once they come to me, gradually they'll get purified because they start chanting the holy names. They will associate with devotees. They will eat prasadam, and they will come in contact with pure devotees. Right? Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra ke, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi hoy. Just by a moment's association with a pure devotee of the Lord, immediately bhakti can start. They can get liberated. Excuse me. But Krishna says, out of all these 4 pious people, the one who is looking for knowledge is the best. And one who is looking for knowledge will get guidance also. But the other 3, whether they are distressed, they want money, or they are inquisitive, Krishna says, still come to me. And gradually they will get cleansed. So, excuse me. My apologies. But Krishna says that those who are wanting to get more knowledge of me, they are very dear to me. And what do? They take this path of devotional service very seriously. And by taking on this knowledge, they start becoming self-realized. They understand what is the goal of life. They understand what is their eternal position. Our constitutional position is to be the eternal servant of Krishna. Jivera Swarup hoy, Krishnera Nitya Das. So when one starts getting situated in pure knowledge of Krishna, then Krishna protects their devotional service and starts removing their material contamination. So bhakti is very, very rare. We should not, Prabhupada says, we should not take bhakti very casually. We should not think that, this material world is a clubhouse and we are here to enjoy. No. We are here so that we can somehow or the other finish our business, Prabhupada says, finish our business in this life and go back to Godhead. He's given us a very simple, straight process. Hearing, chanting, eating prasadam. Very, very simple. In fact, we've already learned Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prayachati. Bhaktya. Krishna is only looking for love and devotion. Everything that we offer to him must have love and devotion. He's in our heart. He can see our devotion. And Krishna says, my devotees are in my heart and I'm in their hearts. And devotees do not want anything beyond Krishna. You know, there is a golden rule. And it says, Smartavya Satatam Krishna, Vismartavya na Jatuchit. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. And they are both interdependent. If we always remember Krishna, we'll never forget him. And if we never forget Krishna, that means we are always remembering him. That is the golden mantra. So Bhagavad Gita, especially in this chapter, Krishna is talking about his opulences. He's talking about how one can become fully Krishna conscious. Fully, not 1%, 10%, 20%, you know, it has to be 100%. And only fortunate get this opportunity. Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan ma prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha. Such a great mahatma, great soul is very, very rare. Who? Someone who after many, many births has come into knowledge and understand Vasudeva Sarvamiti, that Krishna is all in all. He's the cause of all causes. Such a great soul is very rare. That should be our goal, ultimate goal, to become pure, purify ourselves, remove the anarthas from the heart, and become qualified to go back to Godhead. You see? But of course, in this chapter, I hope, do I still have time, Naveen Prabhu, or? Okay, because it's a big chapter with 30 verses. And okay. So in this chapter, Krishna also talks about demigod worship. And he says that those who want to fulfill their material desires, they worship demigods. And he calls them less intelligent. Less intelligent people worship. He says men of small intelligence worship demigods. And obviously the destination will be going to the demigods. What is the motivation? To fulfill material desires. But Krishna says, my devotees, they come to me. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tava tyaktva deham panar janma naiti mameti surjuna. Krishna says very clearly, anyone who understands the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not take his birth in this material world again, but comes back to my eternal abode. Now there is some bad news for us in this chapter. Krishna says, all living entities are born into delusion and they are bewildered. That is bad news. Why? Because they have forgotten their eternal position of being the servant of Krishna. No knowledge, so in Maya cannot understand Krishna. But the good news is that when the living entities, human beings, start performing devotional service sincerely, then all this contamination is gone and memory is revived. Then the living entity understands, I am not this body and I am the eternal servant of Krishna. But what is the requirement? Performing devotional service sincerely and seriously. But if there is no knowledge, then they will continue to be in delusion and bewildered. Then if that is the situation, how can they understand Krishna? They cannot. But Krishna gives us some good news. He says that it is, if we have got piety with us, say, you know, from our previous births, we have performed some devotional service and we have accumulated some piety. And if we have some piety, then he says their sins get eradicated. And in chapter 18 of Bhagavad Gita, verse 66, Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityagya mamekam sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha ishyami masuja. He says, do not fear. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. Then he says, I will remove all sinful reactions. Then the slate will be clean. Sinful reactions will be zero. But how can we do that? By following the process given to us by Srila Prabhupada, following the rules and regulations, performing some austerity, associating with devotees, learning from them, hearing, Srila Prabhupada says, if we do a strong morning program, then we get a kavacha, a shield of protection from Maya. This is how we can progress on the spiritual path. And this will gradually lead us to perfection, to liberation. Now, what is the process to break this cycle and become liberated? Krishna says, you just need to endeavor and take refuge in me. Then we will be able to get a spiritual body when we leave this body and go to the spiritual world, which is our original home. But what is the requirement? Fully Krishna conscious. And if we become fully Krishna conscious, then we will enjoy association of Krishna. Now, to become fully Krishna conscious, first of all, we need to start from bottom. First of all, we need to become conscious of devotees around us. Then the next step is we become conscious of the spiritual master. Then Srila Prabhupada. You need to become Prabhupada conscious. You cannot directly become Krishna conscious. And how can we become Prabhupada conscious? By reading his books, by hearing his lectures. This is how we become Prabhupada conscious. Then gradually we will become Krishna conscious. So association of devotees is very, very important. The very last verse, number 30 of this chapter, Krishna says that one who is fully Krishna conscious and one who knows that I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead above the demigods, then they can know me at the time of death. That means this verse gives us a formula of how to die. So, what do we understand? That he is above demigods. Demigods are just his personal controllers. He has given, they are all below Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the demigods are just working under the control of Krishna. So many different scriptures explain why Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We all are devotees. We have heard this many times, so I won't repeat it, but we have many references. Even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Bhoktaram Yagnal Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwara. I'm the Maha Ishvara of everybody, even the demigods. So in short, this chapter explains how to become fully Krishna conscious. And if we associate with devotees, follow the process given to us by Srila Prabhupada, take on this knowledge, then we will go beyond the bodily concept of life and understand I am not this body, but I am a spirit soul. I am an eternal servant. Right now in this material world, I'm entangled, I've forgotten, and that's why I'm suffering. And in this chapter, we also learn 4 kinds of people who surrender to Krishna and 4 kinds who do not surrender to Krishna. Those who do not surrender, they are wasting their rare human form of life. We also heard about worship of demigods. What is the destination? And finally, we learn how to die, remembering Krishna and go back to Godhead. So if we want to really progress spiritually, then we need to take on more knowledge and perform our devotional service with determination, hearing, chanting, very, very important. If only we follow the process given to us by Srila Prabhupada, then Prabhupada says, your way back to Godhead is guaranteed. So we all are very fortunate to be in association of each other. And, we have got this opportunity to practice Krishna consciousness. And now that the year is coming to an end, we just have a few days left of 2021. So it's time to reflect, write down in the diary, what are my spiritual accomplishments this year? What all did I do spiritually? Did I? If yes, what did I do? And also, this would be a good time to meditate on what is coming next year, 2022. What can I do to further my spiritual life? What can I do to advance in Krishna consciousness? On the New Year's Eve, people make New Year resolutions. Of course, they break it the very next day because most of them are so drunk they don't even remember what resolutions they took the previous day. But we can make some spiritual resolutions. Write down in the diary, okay, if I haven't been reading this year, let me make a resolution that next year, starting January 1st, I will start reading Srila Prabhupada's books more diligently. So we can, meditate on that. So this is a gist of the chapter 7 of Bhagavad Gita. So I'll stop here if anyone has any questions. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji, for the wonderful Bhagavad Gita class. It was really so pleasing to hear from you. So, as you mentioned, if there was anyone who has a question or a comment, realization, would like to say something, you can raise your hand now and can give you an opportunity to speak. So, is there anyone on the call who would like to ask a question? Okay, I don't see any hands raised, but I do have some questions online, Mataji. So I'm just going to pull them up. Just 1 second. Okay, so the first question is, we sometimes see that either in ourselves or in others, even in Krishna consciousness, that we find our knowledge is stolen by illusion, either being influenced by someone who may have better arguments or just by material desires. How do devotees handle such situations and overcome them?
Yes, this is quite common, and the root cause is inattentive chanting. So when our Srila Prabhupada stressed a lot on chanting the holy names of the Lord, and that too attentively, because it's only when we chant attentively that the impurities from the heart are removed and the illusion is removed, and then the mind is also clear, and also whatever we are hearing or reading, we are able to put it into practice. Otherwise, it's just theory. There's no practical. And practical will happen. Theory will turn into practical only when we start chanting attentively. That is the root cause. And Srila Prabhupada says 99% of our advancement depends on attentive chanting. Okay.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. I think it's very important to emphasize that the chanting is like the basis, the glue to everything. And with quality chanting, the rest of your spiritual life can kind of also remain fixed. It's so true. You definitely, as a devotee, experience this while chanting in different moods. So thank you, Masterji, for that. There's just one more question. The question is as follows from Rangesh Prabhu. How do we recognize the position of demigods as servants of the Lord? Because sometimes people, in their devotion to Krishna, commit or say something offensive against the demigods.
Oh, that is very wrong. That is very wrong. Srila Prabhupada always said we should respect all demigods because they also are servants of Krishna and they are managers of Krishna. They have power. They are much above us human beings. They have a position. He always, stressed on this point that we should never disrespect demigods. Now, that is an offense. And we know, when we commit offenses, whether it is to a devotee or to demigods, then we do have to face severe reactions. Our bhakti can get, damaged. So we have to be very careful. We must always offer respect to demigods.
Yes, thank you so much, Mataji. As we were going through these questions, I received two more. Do you have some time for the question to
Yes.
take those questions? Okay. So the next question is from Shubham Mataji. How do we fully surrender to Krishna and develop more deep faith for him, even when things don't go as we plan?
Yes, usually things don't go our way, but we still make plans. Um, Rupa Goswami says, Adau Shraddha Tada Sadhu Sangha Bhajan Kriya Anartha Nivriti. So we all have basic faith. That's why we are here today hearing Bhagavad Gita. So when we have that basic faith, then sadhu sangha, we must associate with devotees. When we associate with devotees, then we start doing bhajana kriya, we start performing devotional service. And when we sincerely perform devotional service, then there is anartha nivriti. All the unwanted things in the heart, they are removed. Contamination is removed, the heart gets purified, and then we make more progress and go further. There's nishtha and bhava and prema. So the main thing is to associate with devotees. Srila Prabhupada always stressed on association of devotees, because I always give this example that supposing I'm driving a car on the highway, and a cop is sitting next to me, in the passenger seat. I will never break any rules, traffic rules. I'm not going to, of course I don't in any case, but I'm just giving an analogy that, okay, if the cop is sitting next to me, there's no way I'm going to run a red light or speed or anything. Why? Because the cop is next to me, who is the one who tries to make sure that everyone follows the laws of the state. Similarly, when a devotee is with us, when we are in association of devotees, we will never think of doing anything wrong. We will always do everything that is right. You see, so association of devotees is very, very important. And also, it's important to understand that we are not the controllers. We make these plans because we think I am the controller. As soon as we see anyone we want to control, whether it is a spouse or the children or the friends or the relatives or even colleagues in the office, that is there within us to control, but we are not the controllers, not at all. So if we somehow or the other remain an association of devotees, then we will develop that quality of humility, that quality of tolerance. Gradually, we will progress. And then we will see that no matter what, there are no dualities. Vidya Vinaya Sampane, Brahmane Gavi Hastin, Shni Cheva Swapakecha, Panditaha Samadarshina. Equal vision, like a Pandita, like a learned person, not disturbed with any dualities, whether it is insult or praise, happiness, distress, sadness, depression, nothing can really disturb us. So association of devotees is very, very, very important. I hope that answered your question, Shubham.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you, Shubham, for the wonderful question, and Mataji for the amazing answer. Mataji, we have one more question. It's from an anonymous person. The question is as follows: what advice would you have for some devotees who are not as inclined or not able to read as much? Is it okay for them to hear and discuss from other devotees instead to develop their understanding in Krishna consciousness?
Yes, it is okay, but Srila Prabhupada said that I have taken so much trouble to write these books. He's gone, he has, if we read his Lilamrita, we can see how much struggle he had to put all these books, in front of us, to bring all this, knowledge, translate and give purports to us. So it is recommended to read actually 2 hours a day, it is recommended. But we can start from small, start with 15 minutes, read one shloka with purport, and gradually, build up on that. So it's important to read, but in the meantime, yes, it's good to hear and, discuss with devotees. It is said that um, whatever we hear in a lecture, we should discuss it with three devotees. That's how we will be able to retain that knowledge if we discuss it. So it's good to discuss with devotees, but it's also important to read Srila Prabhupada books. Prabhupada said, I read my own books. Prabhupada used to read his own books because he said these are Krishna's words. So reading is also important.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Gita Mataji, for the wonderful class. Before we conclude, if there's anyone else would like to say anything, you can raise your hand now. Okay, I don't see anyone else, Mataji, so we will conclude here. So, I'm sorry, I see one hand raised as we were about to conclude. Vrinda Gopika Mataji, yes, please, you may go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Koti Koti Dangat Pranam. Your class is always Mataji very nectarian and it's working day to day life. Mataji, you explain. I take only 2 minutes. Always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. How we become a fully Krishna conscious. Bahunam Janmanam Prapati. Then you explain about when living about the Sarva Dharma Parityajam. Then this is just to heart that strong morning program is a kavach. Mataji, yes, it is working when our japa is completing the Brahma Murata. Then whole day we rememberize whatever Srila Prabhupada lectures are given by senior brahmachari or Maharaj. But when japa is not complete in a 4:30 to 7 Mataji, then finish. The last one round is going up to 10:30 Mataji. I'm talking about myself. Requirement of fully Krishna conscious from bottom of the heart, and how we by the mercy of spiritual master, by the follow of spiritual master instruction, then we get the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, and how we become a Prabhupada conscious by the reading the his book. So Mataji, this is touch to heart that in my case, Mataji, I am not able to sit in a work on one corner 20-25 minutes. Hardly I can read. But when we hear Krishna Katha, Krishna Katha with a senior Vaishnava, senior Brahmachari, Mataji, it's direct effect to our japa. That much I learn. Association of Vaishnava is very important. And then Sadhu Sangha and Bhajan Kriya, you explain about the Nistha, Bhava and Prem. Association of the devotee is very important in our life. And reading Srila Prabhupada book sincerely, at least CC Bhagavad Gita, Shishi Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charanamrita. Mataji, thank you very much for your association. Koti Koti Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Vrinda Gopika Mataji, for that wonderful overview on the class. It always amazes me to show how much attention and how you are listening and taking notes. It's very inspiring. So thank you for your comments, Mataji. And Gita Mataji, thank you so much for the wonderful class, for gracing us with your association today. The class was filled with so much wisdom and so much nectar. And I really feel that everyone has gotten a little more understanding on chapter 7 of Bhagavad Gita. So thank you so much, Mataji. We appreciate your association and welcome back to Atlanta. I know you've been back for some time, but we're seeing you now for the first time. So welcome back, and we hope to see you soon in person.
I wish I was still in Vrindavan.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji. Yes, Mataji. But we are glad to have you back here. We are very glad. It's our good fortune to have you in our association, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So, yes, dear devotees, we will now move along. We will just have a few announcements regarding the temple. So, as you know, temple is currently closed and all programs have been cancelled. We are monitoring the situation right now and assessing the environment. So please stay up to date and keep up to date with us on the WhatsApp groups, on our social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Any updates regarding the temple activities will be posted on the groups and on social media. Like I said, we are monitoring the situation, and we will be providing updates in the upcoming days. We would like to thank everyone for being here with us today, giving us your association, and please be safe and take care. As you know, Georgia is raging with the coronavirus, so please be safe and cautious when out there. And we'll conclude by chanting Hare Krishna 3 times in a prayerful
One
mood
second,
for
Naveen.
all the. Oh, yes. Yes, Rangesh.
Midweek program.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. So we also just forgot to mention that we have our midweek program, which will happen on Wednesday at 7 p.m. And it will be given by Her Grace Radhabhav Mataji. It will be on the series, The Great Devotees of the Lord, and we'll be covering Vitasura on this particular day. So 7 p.m. on Wednesday. Please don't forget to join us virtually for our midweek program. So yes, we'll chant Hare Krishna 3 times in a prayerful mood for everyone who is in need of some prayers and blessings, and all the corona patients and doctors fighting the pandemic. So we'll chant, please. If you can join me, please try. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we'd like to send out prayers and blessings for everyone who is facing this pandemic. And on that note, we would conclude the program. So thank you, dear devotees, for being with us once again. Please stay up to date on our social media platforms for any updates regarding temple activities. And yeah, we will now take leave. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.